Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally in Trinidad and Tobago, Stuart Young, a former Minister of Energy, is pressing the government on its sudden announcement of a diplomatic mission to Venezuela, demanding answers on whether it recognizes Delcy Rodríguez and whether Prime Minister Kamala Persad still treats her as persona non grata. Thing about it is, listen to the boldness of the PNM now, demanding answers. Nobody could have dare demand answers from the great Emperor Rowley or his team, But once again, UNC is held at a different standard to the PNM. It's the statements that frustrates me even more than anything else. I mean, UNC would have said certain things while PNM was in office, but still, it's the boldfaceness that you see within the PNM. It cannot be compared. It cannot be compared. My response online, though, Zami Young is still the only politician in TNT who was never, ever, ever elected by the people of Trinidad and Tobago to be Prime Minister, but instead was appointed by the president, even though he wasn't the political leader of the PNM. Stop being an author of confusion, my dear patriot Zami Young. The USA now recognizes Delcy Rodríguez as the leader of Venezuela, as the legitimate leader of Venezuela, hopefully not for long. And therefore, it's quite obvious that our Prime Minister will also respect the office which she now holds, which Delcy now holds. Hopefully, this is just a transition period in Venezuela, which will lead to fresh elections to ensure that true democracy is restored. You see, unlike you, Zami, and Rowley and the PNM crew, the Kamala Persad administration was not willing to sacrifice our very important diplomatic relationship with the USA by recognizing Delcy as president at a time when that administration, the Venezuelan administration, was still under sanctions. Relations with the United States were not normalized yet. If we decided to defy the USA, we would have lost out on much greater opportunities than that dragon gas deal. But you and your merry men in the PNM up to now fail to understand that. Why? In my opinion, it's all because of tribalism. I don't even understand how Zami is involved in that tribalism stuff, But remember, once you're part of the PNM, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your origin. I will leave it as that, your origin, You are lost in tribalism nevertheless, because the PNM was founded upon tribalism. After years of limited equipment and delayed responses to emergencies, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service has received a major operational boost with the handover of 6 new fire tenders valued at $69 million. Prime Minister Kamala Persad officially commissioned the fleet at the Penal Fire Headquarters on Clark Road yesterday, describing the move as a critical step in strengthening national emergency response and protecting underserved communities. Now, of course, this report was actually posted yesterday, so it would have been like the day before yesterday that she actually did it. My response: yes, PNM patriots, we all know that PNM ordered those fire tenders back in 2023, okay? After failing to do so in their first term in office, they waited until 2023, 2 years before elections. What they were studying to do with the $60+ billion and $50+ billion, sorry, correction, annual budgets? What they were studying to do with all that money? You can tell me that, PNM patriots. Anyhow, I want to say the fact remains that it should have never taken so long in order to provide fire officers with the vehicles and equipment which they needed to perform their duties. Instead, you know what they gave them? Wooden ladders. So who to climb? You in a fire, and you go and climb a wooden ladder. That makes a whole lot of sense, A lot of sense, people. Rowley and his crew were in office for almost 10 years, and therefore there's no excuse whatsoever for that level of neglect and incompetence. Now, yes, better late than never. But my goodness, boy, you're talking about what, 8 years later? That's ridiculous, people. But unlike, I'm very sure that the UNC would not have given the PNM any credit whatsoever. I am fair-minded, and that's why I will still do so. Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Sean Sobers is clarifying and defending TNT's position on the reappointment of CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett, saying there is no issue with Dr. Barnett herself. Only concerns about how the process was handled. Yes, people, common sense would have told you all it's all about principle. It's not about who was the individual that was re-elected. The fact of the matter remains that our Prime Minister was not invited to participate in the voting process. That should be a criminal offense, in my opinion. He also rejected claims that he misled the public and says he is seeking legal advice over statements made by opposition Senator Dr. Amory Brown. That's a great patriot, you know. Amory Brown, real patriotic. At a press conference earlier on that day, I'm telling you, I hope he pursues it. I hope he takes legal action, and let's see what will be the outcome.
I am here to discuss some pertinent issues that have been placed within the public domain. It is no secret that Trinidad and Tobago has written to the CARICOM Secretariat and to the current chair of the CARICOM Heads of Government, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, concerning certain issues that took place at the last CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, mainly as it pertains to a retreat that took place on Thursday, the 26th of February, 2026, and a particular decision that was allegedly taken there as it pertains to the reappointment of the current CARICOM Secretary General, Ms. Carla Barnett. Now, Trinidad and Tobago's issue, as espoused by the correspondences and the missives that were sent, really has nothing to do, and I repeat, has nothing to do with the person, Mrs. Barnett. What our issue is with respect to the process. The revised Treaty of Chaguaramas details pellucidly how the reappointment or the election of the Secretary General for CARICOM should take place. And it is usually done, agendaed at a community council meeting, which is formed by the foreign ministers of CARICOM. Subsequent to that, once it is agreed upon, that agenda item will be moved forward to the Conference of Heads of Government, which obviously constitutes all the members who are heads of government of CARICOM. They will discuss the issue, and if consensus cannot be reached as it pertains to the person put forward or persons put forward, then the majority rule would kick in, which is established as being 1/2 of CARICOM +1.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago. Friday, April 10, 2026. General summary. The forecast for Friday, April 10 indicates mostly fair to partly cloudy and breezy conditions. A mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere. There is a 35% to 50% chance of isolated light to moderate showers occurring during the late morning to early afternoon. Temperature and heat index. Maximum temperature 30 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature 23 degrees Celsius. Heat index real feel 34 degrees Celsius. Wind and sea conditions. Winds easterly 10 to 35 km per hour with occasional higher gusts. Sea state moderate with wave heights 2.0 meters to 2.5 meters in open waters and less than 1.0 meters in sheltered areas. Sun and air quality. Sunrise 5:54 a.m. Sunset 6:14 p.m. Air quality fair to moderate. Sensitive groups should take precautions due to Saharan dust. Localized recreational areas. Maracas Bay moderate chop with breaking waves. Store Bay and Pigeon Point generally calm to slight seas.
Regional news now. Creatives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the region are being given an opportunity to benefit from a US $2 billion, not million, $1 billion funding envelope through a company owned by a Nigerian entrepreneur involved in the creative industry. But here the currency that they're using, US dollars, the white man dollars. You don't want to have nothing to do with the white man and the colonials, you know. You still have to use the dollars. Lord Father. But anyhow, the announcement was made at a news conference on Tuesday by Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Rural Transformation, Israel Bruce. Minister Bruce recently represented St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the 14th Afro-Caribbean Summit held in Abuja, Nigeria.
What this does is that it creates an opportunity for people who are involved in the creative industry where they are serious to now be able to borrow in from a $2 billion industry, which would allow them to streamline their businesses and to deliver proper businesses. So that the mass bands that are screaming every year that they don't have sufficient funds to deliver their mass production could get serious about their production, could borrow money through this facility and conduct their businesses as business men and women. So I believe this is another golden opportunity that has come out of the Afro-Caribbean Summit, which took place in Nigeria, and I was excited to be part of it.
Prime Minister Brigadier Mark Phillips of Guyana officially commissioned the Aurora Solar Farm at the Aurora Gold Mine site in Region 7 on Wednesday, marking a significant milestone in Guyana's transition to clean and sustainable energy. I love it. I love it. They're not giving up on the energy industry when it pertains to the oil and gas, you know, people. But what they're doing is using wisdom and balancing it. They're also seeking to use different types of energy that is renewable. The expanded facility now boasts nearly 50 megawatts of installed solar capacity. I mean, it costs a lot of money basically to get the devices, but after that, and to maintain it to an extent. But nevertheless, it's quite affordable. It's something I want to invest in the future, even for home here. Supported, so let me read over that part. The expanded facility now boasts nearly 50 megawatts of installed solar capacity, supported by approximately 82 megawatt hours of battery storage, providing a stable and reliable power supply for one of the country's largest interior industrial operations. Speaking at the ceremony, Prime Minister Phillips emphasized the strategic shift from diesel-based power generation to renewable energy. I mean, at the end of the day, that's one little thing I have a little concern with my conservative friends about. They know that the radical left wants to try to get rid of the oil and gas industry, and that's why they basically kind of like oppose the renewable energy so much. They don't oppose for opposing's sake. It's a good idea. It's just that you have to go about doing it the right way, and you can't just give up on gas and oil either. The Ministry of Local Government and Community Development in Jamaica has announced that all persons still housed in school shelters, can you imagine that? Months later, they're still in school shelters. They have nowhere to go. Following Hurricane Melissa, will be relocated to suitable accommodations by May 8, 2026. In a statement on Thursday, the ministry said the move forms part of the government's ongoing national recovery effort. Slowly but surely, but you need to pick up the pace, man. It noted that as of April 9th, only 8 schools remained in use as shelters, accommodating a total of 81 individuals. But is it functional? Anyone in Jamaica? I know I have a few Jamaican viewers. Tell me, what's going on? Since it's being used still as shelters, is it operational? What are they doing? Sitting classrooms? Give me an idea what's going on. The ministry credited initiatives such as the $10 billion Roofs Housing Assistance Program, rent support for displaced families, and home repairs for significantly reducing the number of people living in shelters. This is what we were supposed to be focused on. Instead of being obsessed with Gaza and Iran, radical jihadists that want to just destroy the whole world and enforce Sharia law. Help Jamaica, man. I mean, Jamaica has a lot of tribalism, and but that's a whole different discussion. The whole of the Caribbean full of tribalism. We still need to be our brother's keeper. And at the end of the day, we are democracies. Stand up with our democratic countries, no man, Europe. What are they doing? Help Jamaica. Jamaica needs help. And here in Trinidad and Tobago, we are enduring a lot of financial problems because of the PNM, so we can't really help as much as we would have if UNC was probably in office for the past 20 years or so. So Europe, do your part, man. Stop sending tons upon tons of aid to Gaza for Hamas to take and sell to the people and help out Jamaica a bit. The Barbados Consumer Empowerment Network urges support for local producers but warns that this should not justify unfair pricing during cost of living struggles. I've said it in the past a lot of the times. Do you know that? Well, I guess we know that here in Trinidad. Sometimes the imported stuff either cheaper or at least bigger than the ones that we buy in locally. And therefore, it's better to buy it anyhow you take it. Executive Chairman Maureen Holder highlighted that local retail markups, not just external factors, contribute to high costs, calling for more strategic, fair, and transparent pricing strategies. While supporting local is important, it cannot be a blanket excuse for inflated prices. Yeah, but you have to remember the cost for production, people. Cost for production, fuel, transportation. Retailers are urged to manage supply chains better and avoid passing on excessive. So that's all they're concerned about, the excessive costs to struggling consumers. Giancano Beach vendors in Nassau, Bahamas are alleging continued harassment and victimization by the Ministry of Tourism's security team, citing intimidation, physical confrontation, and a hostile work environment. Despite recent meetings with Tourism Minister Chester Cooper, members of the Giancano Beach Association, JBA, report that the intimidation included by contracted police again, has not stopped directly impacting their livelihoods. You know, simple things like that could cost the government their elections. Simple things like that, because it's the common man you need to vote for you.
For more than a year, Giancano Beach, one of Nassau's most popular tourist hotspots, has been under scrutiny for its safety and operations. Some tourists even taking to social media about their experiences.
I recently visited the Bahamas and I went to Giancano Beach where I was harassed by the local men, so much so that I started to fear for my safety.
But the Giancano Beach Association is pushing back against those claims, which have hidden vendors taking issue with the management within the Ministry of Tourism, who they believe are also painting them out to be delinquents and practitioners of illegal operations.
The vendors are being micromanaged. In essence, we have our staff members that are coming here and saying that they were told by the security department of the ministry to leave, and no one has followed up with us. So basically, they're managing the staff members and micromanaging all of the departments. Persons are constantly under surveillance, and some persons have been under surveillance in their personal lives, at their home, etc.
Richard Ramming, owner of Giancano Beach Bar and Grill, also echoing those concerns, adding that officials are now calling for vendors to demolish their structure, an issue they say they never had.
No individual has ever been approached by the Department of Physical Planning. The only person that has approached them has been the Ministry of Tourism. So the question is, if these structures were deemed to be out of code, why hasn't nobody from Physical Planning ever approached individuals who own these businesses? Shut it down and go home? No, man, you don't do that to people.
The association also alleges that years of ongoing issues have worsened with reported water and electricity disruptions, lasting up to 2 months, forcing vendors to work under poor conditions and affecting public health and visitor experience. And now they are calling for government intervention.
I do not believe that the minister or the government is fully aware of what we've been dealing with on a daily basis. All we've done over the past 2 decades is to create something meaningful here at Junkanoo Beach. We took Junkanoo Beach from having 3, 4, 5 visitors a day to having over 2,000.
In a statement, the Ministry of Tourism says it is aware of the association's concerns and remains engaged through appropriate channels. And for the association, they hope this message is clear.
We're Bahamians just wanting to make a living. We're human beings. We have families. We have mortgages.
Rebecca Bain, Eyewitness News.
International news now. A Florida woman convicted of posing as a nurse and treating more than 4,400 patients without a license avoided jail after pleading no contest. Autumn Badizia was sentenced to 5 years of probation and community service for unlicensed healthcare practice and fraudulent use of identification. Now, of course, if no one was harmed, maybe, just maybe, that's why she was placed on probation instead of being sent to prison for a while. But that was really reckless. That was really reckless. And I don't know, but I don't know, in a case like that, as I said before, if anybody was harmed, most likely she was going to end up on investigation discovery crime shows. And maybe she's still with her for committing fraud. Who knows? Thankfully, it seems as though this report doesn't indicate that anyone ended up being harmed in any way. President Trump's recent statement about the ceasefire deal with Iran. He said numerous agreements, lists, and letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the USA-Iran negotiation. They will be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. There's only one group of meaningful points that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during these negotiations. These are the points that are the basis on which we agreed a ceasefire, he went on to say. It is something that is reasonable and can easily be dispensed with. It's very much like fake news CNN last night, well, that will have been night before, headlining a source that had no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority. Well, we always expect that from CNN and the Kakash media here in Trinidad and Tobago, and even the radical woke left media in Israel that despises their own country and government. Putting that aside, President Trump, maybe your deal isn't that bad after all, but one significant part of it still is terrible, and that is allowing the Ayatollah regime to charge every ship $2 million to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which was free of charge for all of history. What you are doing is counterproductive by agreeing to that. You'll be funding terrorism in Iran if you allow that to continue. Now for the interesting facts segment, Yaya, the giant panda born in Beijing, spent nearly 2 decades in the U.S. at Memphis Zoo as part of a conservation program. In her later years, photos showing weight loss and thinning fur raised concerns, though officials linked it to age and a skin condition. The experts said that, however, after returning to Beijing Zoo in 2023, her health improved noticeably, with weight gain and full of fur. It wasn't about age after all. Her journey has sparked broader conversations in the U.S. about animal welfare, care standards, and responsibility. My goodness. So those officials in the zoo was just trying to make themselves look good, and somehow or the other they were doing something terribly wrong. When she went back to China, the age process just reversed? That makes sense? Nevertheless, an interesting fact.
Welcome to Real Conservative News Travel Adventures. The Columbia River Gorge is a 80-mile-long national scenic area carving through the Cascade Mountains, renowned for its massive concentration of waterfalls, lush forests to the west, and sunny rocky bluffs to the east. Located in Oregon/Washington, it offers premier hiking, windsurfing, wine tasting, and scenic drives like the historic Columbia River Highway. Key highlights and activities. Waterfalls. Iconic spots include the 620-foot Multnomah Falls, Bridal Veil Falls, and Ladurel Falls. Hiking and trails. Over 200 trails exist, including the popular Angel's Rest. Scenic drives. The historic Columbia River Highway features panoramic views from the Vista House at Crown Point. Water sports. High winds make Hood River a world-renowned destination for windsurfing and kiteboarding. Towns and culture. Explore charming towns like Hood River, known for breweries and fruit orchards, and Cascade Locks. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you again tomorrow as our journey around the world continues.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.